And even if the platforms disagree with what I'm saying, what was I saying? All I was saying was that Bitcoin is what you should be getting into. And I wasn't wrong back then when Bitcoin was $1,500, $1,200, $700, guys. You guys saw my last video talking about Facebook and the Metaverse and how they are doing the Metaverse terribly. And as you guys well know, the stock price is absolutely tanking. They are not doing a good job. Advertisers are leaving the platforms, Instagram and WhatsApp, and Facebook is left with a mountain of fail. That's right, a mountain of fail, guys. Nope. But I want to talk about something that I think is even more important. And this is an article that I think really kind of speaks to the meta, or let's just say the principles and values of Facebook, and how at the end of the day, the principles and values of Facebook are really at odds with the Metaverse. If we think about the Metaverse from a holistic and somewhat dogmatic and purist standpoint. And I think this is important because what we have is we have a company that wants to build in the Metaverse, but yet the company values don't match what the Metaverse should be. So because of this disconnect, there's going to be dissonance, conflict in the rollout and execution of this particular product. And if I were to take a stab in the air, my friends, I think the rollout's probably not going to be that great. Or at least it's going to roll out to very minimal fanfare. So you guys hold me accountable. You guys let me know. Obviously, I'll be checking it out as we roll out Meta with Facebook. But let's talk about how Facebook's principles are at odds with the Metaverse. You know, news last year that Facebook was rebranding as Meta was greeted with much derision. And to be fair, Mark Zuckerberg's promotional materials did not do a lot of justice for the Metaverse concept. In many ways, Mark Zuckerberg's appeal to the mass audience and his examples of using the Metaverse were more like clown shows. And frankly, didn't give a lot of credence to the potential of what the Metaverse really should be. Now that Meta's stock has recorded its biggest ever daily loss at 26.4%, accompanied by first ever drop in Facebook's daily active users, some of those detractors are allowing themselves a sense of vindication. See, no one wants a Metaverse, is what they're saying. They're saying nobody wants this. But let's dig in a little bit deeper. This conclusion, though, might be a partial misreading of the situation, both around Facebook itself and around the idea of a metaverse more generally. Starting with Facebook, there are multiple reasons why it isn't performing healthily. Compare the platform now to what it was when it first appeared. And there is a gulf between the two. It's pretty obvious. Facebook now comes across as an aging and bloated entity that is not enjoyable to navigate, and which has become laden down with worn-out politics, unsolicited basic-level sloganeering, and marketing crap. It's just a news feed of nonsense. It seems unlikely that the younger demographic will be attracted anytime soon, and at the same time, are many of its current likely users thrilled at Zuck's Metaverse pivot? Let's be honest. If Facebook currently has a huge user base of boomers, what's the chances those boomers are going to be putting on Metaverse glasses, right? This actually kind of works. The boomers ain't going to be putting on Metaverse glasses and entering into the VR world. It's not going to happen, guys. It's just not going to happen. So they're not going to go into this. Zuckerberg's instincts, presumably he foresees a Web3 future built on blockchains, is surely correct, because I agree with that. The future is going to be built on blockchain. But the organization of which he is at the helm comes across as unsuited for the Metaverse transformation. In several ways, Facebook has come to exhibit core characteristics that are antithetical to the makeup of the true Metaverse. So let's get into what are the things that make Facebook unfit to run the Metaverse. Well, first and foremost, it's got to be censorship. Without wanting to engage in the culture wars or squelch into the bottomless political bog of what is being censored, and to what ends, it's safe to say that the big tech companies have, over recent years, veered away from the old values of Silicon Valley and its old tech pioneers. There was a time when big tech's culture was libertarian, and it was taken for granted that free speech was an unassailable value. But it turns out that free speech could actually be assailed. In fact, free speech has been clobbered, as companies including Facebook have taken it upon themselves to heavily moderate the content posted on their platforms. in ways that often appear patronizing, crude, and ideologically motivated. Not to not include politically motivated, right? And we don't touch politics here. We just laugh and poke at social ideology, right? And social things that are happening in this world. A metaverse in which an unaccountable central authority like Facebook operates in this way, exercising total control without adequate explanation or channels for appeal. And this is not an appealing one. And put more simply, it just doesn't fit with anything crypto-based, such as Web 3.0, right? The Web 3.0 and anything blockchain-based is censorship resistant, or is supposed to be censorship resistant. The idea is that your voice matters even if everyone disagrees. I'm okay with that. Like, for someone else to censor speech, you guys know all the tropes. You guys know all the reasons why this is a bad idea. And it's a slippery slope if we continue to allow or work with or support organizations that do censorship. I mean, come on, guys. For those of you guys who've been with me since 2016, 2017, you guys know how many strikes I got on YouTube, thousands of videos that I lost because of the heydays of crypto, when we were the tip of the spear. We were the ones doing the hard work early when it was really looked at as a negative, and the media companies shut me down, man. They deleted all these videos. So, I mean, I have a very close tie to this censorship issue. And even if the platforms disagree with what I'm saying, what was I saying? All I was saying was that Bitcoin is what you should be getting into. And I wasn't wrong back then when Bitcoin was $1,500, $1,200, $700, guys. Anyway, so I'll tell you guys. I'll tell you. There's a lot of stuff here that let me go back in my notes here. All right, let's talk about this. Number 2. So we talked about censorship. Let's talk about centralization. Decentralization is a pillar within crypto. You may be familiar with the blockchain trilemma, as first articulated by Vitalik Buterin, which states that blockchain developers must find a way to satisfy 3 demands: decentralization, security, and scalability. As is well documented, Ethereum, with its network congestion and sky-high gas fees, is struggling with scalability. While Solana, for example, is fast and cheap, but is criticized for not being sufficiently decentralized and continually goes down. Down. A worthwhile blockchain-based metaverse would have to be open to all, permissionless and trustless, and constructed so there is not simply no central controller, but in a way that there is no capability or capacity for a central controller to exist. This is why we create DAOs, or decentralized autonomous organizations. To say that Facebook doesn't exemplify these characteristics is an understatement. It's certainly a traditional, centralized entity in which users are subordinate to those who command power within the company structure. Essentially, if Facebook were morphed into a virtual territory and became the metaverse, then the metaverse would be under the dictatorial control of Chairman Zuck and his generals. So, censorship doesn't work with the metaverse. Centralized control doesn't work with the metaverse. And guess what else doesn't work? Ownership of digital rights. Ownership of digital rights. Along with the issues of decentralization, ownership is another critical factor in Web3 environments. As we move towards an increasingly digital and online lifestyle, true ownership of virtual assets is inevitable. And it's through blockchain technology that such ownership is viable. Already, despite being in a nascent phase, NFT sales are through the roof as digital collectibles change hands for occasionally mind-blowing sums. Lots of money in that, guys. Lots of money in the NFTs. Without ownership of land, art, and whatever other assets come to emerge, a metaverse is still not much more than a conventional video game. And ownership of those assets must be detachable, transportable, and tradable. They have to be. Property or tokens that people are holding are not locked into a particular platform. They are in your wallet, and as long as you own your wallet, they will belong to you. This is what I was talking about in my previous video around the Web 3.0 and digital ownership and digital rights to your identity. it should be exportable. You should be able to port all your, let's say, collector items or all your digital assets from one platform to another, removing this whole Web 2.0 private networks or private internet, which is what Facebook really is, right? So if Facebook's metaverse resembled Facebook's social media platform, then it would be a walled garden in which users did not even have the capacity to own anything. In fact, it could be worse than that, as on Facebook, the platform owns everything about you to the point of farming your data and leveraging it for profit. Transfer this model to a Facebook's metaverse, and it will be a surveillance society in which ownership rights are reserved exclusively for the all-seeing state. And so we have to take on a different ethos here. And what Metaverse, Facebook Meta, is not going to stop building the metaverse. That's okay. They're going to continue to burn through money and build it out. But they're going to find themselves in places that are going to be really tough, because if their philosophy is different from the founding ideas of what they're building, then they're going to be constantly in this push-pull tension between what they should do and what they're going to do, right? And so what they're going to do is focus on profiteering. Obviously, we know this, right? But what they should do, well, so let's talk about this. So what type of ethos do we need? We need a different ethos. When it comes down to it, there's little point in formulating a new version of the web if it carries over the traditional aspects and controlling things that made Web 2.0 sucky. And perhaps even further embeds the worst part of the web in its current form if we take that on. And as it goes, Facebook embodies, promotes, and has profited enormously from those negative traditional traits. The traits, that is, that we would be better off leaving behind, at least in my opinion. If Facebook is to become a metaverse builder and a true proponent of the improvements that Web3 can enable, then it will first have to rid itself from the current ethos. And in the process, perhaps move away from some of the users for whom the ethos clicks. Maybe, just maybe, Metaverse needs to start all over. What do you guys think? Let me know in your thoughts what you guys think about Facebook and the Metaverse. Is their philosophy of censorship, control and centralization, control and ownership over your data, does that play well with the Metaverse? I think it's pretty obvious that it doesn't fit well. But let me know in the comments, smash the like button, and for everyone out there, have you heard about this? It's called a miner, a retail miner. You find your way over to emrit.io, emrit.io, and you can get yourself a retail miner. Get in the game of mining and earn that crypto, baby, all the way to the moon.